It's the coldest day of winter so far here in London, and permafrost seems to be a good phrase to describe relations between the coalition government in Westminster and the First Minister Alex Salmond in Holyrood. David Cameron, the Prime Minister, this week signalled that he's prepared to allow a referendum on Scottish independence go ahead, and he'd like to see it take place as soon as possible using a straightforward yes or no question. The First Minister Alex Salmond, however, is insistent that a referendum shouldn't take place until 2014, and he would also like to include a so-called Devo Max option on the ballot form, which allows Scotland to enjoy fiscal autonomy without taking the full leap to independence. ICM's latest survey for the Sunday Telegraph has much to say on these matters. We interviewed a representative sample of people living in England and a separate representative sample of Scots. Remarkably, we found that it's people in England who are more likely to approve of Scottish independence. Scots themselves are more likely to disapprove of independence than approve of it. Alex Salmond will also find little cheer in the so-called Devo Max question. ICM also asked people how they would vote in a referendum if it were on the ballot paper, enabling the Scottish Parliament as it would to enjoy full fiscal autonomy over tax and spending plans without necessarily taking Scotland to the full independence position. However, Scots are also nervous about this. In this particular question, more Scots opted for the current constitutional settlement of a devolved Scottish Parliament with some tax and spending powers, 37%, than they did either for the Devo Max position or indeed full independence, both of which only received 27% share of people's vote. It's clear that there's real nervousness amongst Scots about a future change in the arrangement of Scottish politics, and Alex Salmond has got a battle on his hands north of the border to persuade public opinion to come with him and the SNP towards the full independence option. Now, this public opinion battle may well rest on Alex Salmond's ability to convince the Scottish electorate that an independent Scotland is a financially viable option. But opinion on this is currently split north of the border, although ironically that's not the case south of it. Many people in England think both that Scotland would be worse off if it took the independence road, but they also think that England itself would be better off. This rationale probably rests on an understanding of the current financial arrangement between the two countries, with per head spending in Scotland higher than it is in England. It'll be Alex Salmond's task to convince Scots that in the absence of this financial arrangement after independence is achieved, that Scotland can still stand on its own 2 feet. The timing of the referendum is also a matter of contention. David Cameron wants to hold it as soon as possible, but Alex Salmond thinks that by holding on until 2014 he has a better chance of convincing Scots that independence is the right road to take. On this, the public generally seem to favour Cameron's position, with a slight edge among Scots for the earlier referendum and a big lead for it among people living in England. However, there's a sting in the tail for David Cameron. A majority of people both north and south of the border think that England deserves its own parliament, akin to the one currently existing in Holyrood, and that's something that David Cameron would probably refuse to contemplate. Now we can look forward to the constant hum of political campaigning for and against an independent Scotland over the next 18 months to 2 years, and ICM will be tracking changes and ebbs and flows in the public mood during that time. In contexts like these, we've seen that the public is able to shift quickly and decisively, as they did during the recent referendum on the alternative vote. However, now that David Cameron has fired the starting pistol on the question of independence for Scotland, we can expect there to be many interesting twists and turns in the debate, making this a marathon more than a sprint.